All right, welcome back, Padres Social Hour. Happy New Year, everybody. 2016 is here. Before you know it, pitchers and catchers will be reporting to spring training in Peoria, and we'll be off and running with this upcoming season. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, though, I got a guy on the couch here with me who is one of my absolute favorite people on planet Earth. And if you're watching this thing on Fox Sports San Diego, you may not recognize his face, but I assure you, if you've spent any time with us here on Padres Social Hour, you recognize his voice. Hi, Pete.
How's it going, Jesse?
It's going great. Pete Gustin is our voice guy. Is that the official term?
I think I have a business card somewhere that says voice guy.
Voice guy. So clearly you recognize Pete's voice. Take us maybe through, so somebody's watching, they go, oh, I like that part of the show when the guy, kind of takes things out of context and messes with people. What's your process like for going through that?
I've been afraid to show my face here for a couple of years because of the stuff we do. I mean, people completely out of context. Bill and Kurt talking about the most innocuous thing. They go home and they're talking about hanging out with the dog, and I turn it into them having a fight with a fan or something like that. Everybody's been a good sport. It's just kind of the running gag of the show. Everybody's got such a good personality, and Blooper cuts up the sound, sends it my way, gives me no context, so I don't really know what anybody's actually talking about, and I just make up my own story and kind of have a little fun in the open every day.
I was going to say that's got to be like a little fun creative exercise for you and a nice little part of your day.
It's a little puzzle piece. So I can't some of the cuts. I wish I could remember some of them. Just someone that talking about the sock game,
sure, yeah,
or Bill talking about being old, or you calling him old, and me kind of trying to nicely work that into a thing without getting punched in the face after he shows up.
He doesn't punch anybody. You don't have to worry about that.
Oh, good.
He's a very anti-violence guy.
Good.
Bill Center. This is not the only thing you do throughout your day, though. I mean, people obviously don't necessarily know too much about you, but you don't just sit in your studio all day waiting for Blooper to send you Padres Social Hour cuts. You're getting a lot of other stuff done.
Yeah, I've been doing voiceovers for a long time. I mean, at some point in my younger years, I hit puberty, and this voice happened, and figured I should go into radio maybe. And started doing voiceovers as soon as I got into college. I worked for a lot of radio stations, TV stations, other sports franchises. People will be happy to know nothing associated with the Dodgers. Don't work with them at all. No Dodgers voiceovers. It's been a lot of fun. As soon as I got into college, I took an internship with a sports radio station. And growing up, I wasn't even a big sports guy. My dad was into car racing. My mom wasn't really into sports at all, and I was just not following sports a lot. I got the internship. That's just where the internship was, and it was like, uh-oh, I better start learning. And I got to love it. And that's where I started. My voice started getting associated with sports, the major four-letter network and some other places that people might be familiar with. And that was kind of my niche. And I ended up working here. Very cool to be working in SoCal with the Padres. Just anybody that wants to pay me to say words, I'm thrilled. I mean, that's a living. Great, cool, I'll take it.
And the voice is spectacular. Some other things people may have heard you on, because I imagine there's some point where somebody walks into a CVS or they're driving in their car and they go, man, that voice sounds familiar, and they may or may not be able to put together that, oh yeah, Social Hour, that's how I know him. But some of the other things that we may have heard you do recently.
My favorite, you talk about people recognizing it. It's funny when I hear myself. Like sometimes I'll be riding my bike down the street, and some guy in a car that may not be thrilled that I'm in his way on my bicycle is starting to yell at me, and in the background I hear me in the background in his car. I'm like, meanwhile, I'm entertaining you as I'm pissing you off at the same time. Fantastic. Yeah. I've been working recently. I've been my whole life as a voiceover guy. The big holy grail of voiceovers is to do anything in movie trailers. The godfather of voiceovers was Don LaFontaine, who coined the phrase "in a world." And for me to even start to get into that has been fantastic. At the end of last year, I did a trailer for the SpongeBob movie. I worked for the third Hobbit movie. And recently I did some work for Bridge of Spies, the Tom Hanks movie. And also I just did something for the Creed movie. And a lot of that has been running during NFL games. I did a big GMC campaign that runs on Monday Night Football. But the movie trailer stuff is a lot of fun. Plus, it's the least amount of words per the paycheck. I mean, you literally say, one man fighting his way to his destiny in theaters Friday.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's the whole operation. And
that's
the money's
it.
pretty good, I imagine.
Yeah, and then so that job I work, I say a couple lines, in theaters Friday, rated R, something like that, and you get the paycheck. And then the next job is some new. I mean, voiceover, you can do anything. I mean, really, you're not gonna. Someone wants you to pay to describe the new adult diaper. What am I gonna say? No, I don't want to get paid for that one.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
you'll do anything. So the movie trailer one comes in, you get a big paycheck, you say 7 words, and the next thing is a 3-hour spot for, a Gold Bond medicated powder rash prevention or something like that.
For far less money.
Exactly.
How much do you change your actual voice, the way you sound, doing different things, or do you pretty much just sound like Pete all the time?
This part of the business, some people might find it interesting. I get that question a decent amount just out meeting people, and some
Sure.
people's eyes glaze over, and some people are like, I never thought. I mean, most people. I mean, when I met my girlfriend, she's like, I've been listening to voiceovers. Maggie, who's here by the way, she'd been listening to voiceovers. Everybody has. You don't pay attention to it. It just happens. I mean, no one has probably thought as they listen to the intro of Padres Social Hour. I mean, I think there's 1 or 2 of your crazy Twitter people who have seeked me out and found me.
Yeah.
But most people are just like, okay, voice, let's get through that and let's get to Jesse and see what he has to say. But it was a process. In the beginning, I thought I wanted to be and do every voice out there. I wanted to do a cartoon voice and sound like that and do the big scary voice and the haunted movie voices. But eventually, through a lot of coaching and learning, it's funny, you have to learn how to talk.
Sure.
I mean, really, like I'm learning how to talk. It shouldn't be that hard, but eventually it's the phrase that I've been taught is different shades of Pete. People aren't buying me to sound like you. They certainly don't want me to sound like Blooper. They want me to sound like me, but there's a happy, upbeat me. We're talking about Holiday Wonderland at Petco Park. We just did those spots. But then, when the Dodgers come to town, we're taking on the rival. So it's still me. We're just adding a little bit of personality to it.
I like that. Different shades of Pete. You mentioned Blooper. Now, I have heard that you do a pretty good blooper. And not that I want to turn you into a circus monkey here and just make you do voices, but I have heard, and I haven't heard it. I haven't heard the impression. I've heard about the impression. So blooper. Do you want to chime in? The real blooper first.
It's a good impression. I've heard it.
Okay.
I agree with it.
Can you give us a little blooper?
Another good sport over there. The first time I ever did the impression was one of the first times I ever spoke to him, and I called out here, and Blooper hails from the Buffalo area, and I was talking to, what's it like being in SoCal? And he's like, oh, it's so funny being on SoCal because all my friends back in Buffalo are freezing. They got snow up to their chest, and I'm standing here in shorts in the middle of Petco Park. It's great.
People have no idea how good that is. People have no idea how good that is. If you've only met Blooper, quickly or only heard him, he just sort of chimes in every once in a while. They have no idea how good that is. Now, it's funny because we're sitting here, we're having this outstanding conversation. I think people are probably you're an interesting person. You have an interesting job, and this is great. And we could end the interview here, Pete, and it would be like, wow, that was cool. That was a lot of fun. I have totally not mentioned one of the most interesting things about you and how you get things done. You are legally blind.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know you're over there somewhere. I'm doing my best to maintain some eye contact. I was born with, in the general sense, a lot of older people and might know the term macular degeneration. And it's usually something that happens to your grandparents. Every time I bring that up, people are like, oh, my grandpa had that. You get it when you're 70 and you're gone in 20 years, and, his eyes got kind of bad. My macular degeneration started at 0. So I had perfect eyesight the moment I was born, and it's been crapping out ever since. So the whole concept of someone who is now very legally blind reading copy for a living was a difficult challenge, to say the least. When I very first started doing voiceovers, I could see a little better when I was 18 years old and auditioning. I could see a script, not read it at the right pace, but I could see it, memorize it, get it in my head. And as time went on, and I really decided this is what I wanted to do, it was the ultimate, like, I knew young what I wanted to do, but as I was figuring that out, my eyesight was crapping out. It was like really almost a jinx curse at the same time. But I wanted to do it so badly, I figured out a different way to do it. And over time, I developed the system that I call an ear prompter. So I don't read script. Anything that anybody sends me, a movie trailer, a commercial, a narration, and open for this show, a commercial for Holiday Wonderland, it comes to me in text, but I don't look at it. I have a little computerized voice. The voice that comes out of, if you ever text in your car, you're not supposed to be looking at the text. It'll read it out loud. That's what I've got. So I get the little voice coming into me in my left ear.
So you have an earpiece in because obviously you can't have it out loud because then it would go into the microphone.
I've got one earpiece buried in my head because you don't want to be hearing me doing, this is Padres Social Hour, and hearing this is Padres Social Hour in the background. It would be very disconcerting.
Sure.
So I got one earpiece buried as far into my ear as possible, and then a big cup headphone covering that so no one hears it. So that's my whole left ear setup. The right ear, I'm kind of listening to myself and monitoring what I'm saying. And, when my eyesight was crapping out and I was developing this, I thought I was going to drive myself crazy. I mean, I can't, listening to that computerized voice all day saying, today on Padres Social Hour, Bill Center will be sitting on the couch with some ugly socks. It's maddening having that in your head. But over months and a couple of years, I really learned to take it as the input that it is. Just as you would read and look at words, they're not distracting, they're just words. That voice just kind of became a prompt, an ear prompter for me. And had I not figured out how to do that, no way I could read for a living. I'd have to rely on some sort of form of personality to be in television or radio, which I don't think I have. So I'm glad I figured out how to do that.
You could pull off the personality thing, believe me. But, it's absolutely just a study in perseverance and creativity and ingenuity, whatever you want to say, to sort of develop this whole thing, that works for you. And, the next time, somebody – one of us, feels like, we got this challenge at work. I can't figure out how to get through. Think about Pete and the fact that, just reading what he needs to say for his job isn't something that can be done easily, and kind of coming up with this creative, incredible solution to the whole thing. How difficult was it at first to sort of hear it and say it? Think about that. Anybody imagine just having a conversation with somebody and being constantly interrupted. That's pretty much got to be what it is.
It's as I'm talking, it's the same thing as if I'm talking right now, and I can't let it get too far behind me. I have to keep the pace. I got two hands on the keyboard. One is stopping and starting the thing. The other thing is speeding up and slowing down the pace of the voice, because I can't read like a robot. I can't keep the same pace the whole entire time. It'll start to sound monotone. So, just imagine as I'm talking, giving me a 2-second head start and then saying everything I am afterwards. It's not a normal thing. But, and I could have changed gears. I could have, there was a lot of things I considered. Maybe I could have done some marketing in radio. Maybe I could have been a morning show DJ or something. But I really wanted to do voiceovers, and I really wanted to not. It's frustrating when you have and I hate using the term. I hate saying I'm handicapped. But in reality, I've got a handicap. But I'm also, I like to think I'm capable. I'm intelligent, and to have a handicap slow me down. Okay, I'm not going to go play tennis. I'm not going to hit the ball. It's not going to happen. I can accept that. But for that handicap to get in the way and say, you really want to be a voiceover guy, you want to be on television and heard on radio and multimedia, but no, you're not going to be able to do that because you were born this way. I didn't want to accept that. That was crap. I didn't want to have to accept that limitation, so I just worked as hard as I could. And there were a lot of obstacles in the very beginning. People that hire the voiceover talent are like, I don't know, this guy can't read the copy. And it wasn't just one guy or two guys. It was universal. People were not wanting to deal with me in the beginning because everybody else can just grab the copy and go. And I've got this whole little ear prompter system or memorizing the copy. It was a huge hurdle, but it was just a matter of, like you said, perseverance and me not wanting to accept, no, you can't do that as an option.
Pete Gustin, like I said at the beginning, one of my favorite people in the world, a friend and the voice of Padres Social Hour, among other things that are probably more exciting and big deal than that. Great to see you, man. Great to hang out a little bit. And I appreciate you sharing some time and some insight.
Thanks a lot. Great to be here.
Great to be here. Pete Gustin, more Padres Social Hour right after this. You're going to hear his voice, like right now.
Talking Padres baseball right on through the offseason and up to spring training. It's Padres Social Hour, the off-season edition, presented by United Airlines.